I'm William Moeller from Electronite.
This is Rick Reynolds of the Intellivisionaries podcast.
It's Luke from Intellivision Collector.
Hi, this is Steve Kraft with INTV Prime.
Happy Intellivision Day from the Great White North.
Happy Intellivision Day.
Happy Intellivision Day to you.
And I just want to wish everybody a happy Intellivision Day 2024.
Happy Intellivision Day.
Hi, I'm Oscar Toledo Gutierrez, Intellivision programmer and creator of INTV. Wishing you all a happy Intellivision Day.
If you haven't grown up by the age of 50, you don't have to.
And it would help if I turned off the banner, wouldn't it? Hello. Happy Intellivision Day, everybody. Thanks for being here. Special guest right here, Steve Kraft. Hey, Steve.
Hi,
nice
how are you?
to meet you again. Met you the first time, what, week and a half, 2 weeks ago?
Something
we started
like that.
organizing this a little while ago. We practiced or whatever, and we've talked a lot in the past.
Indeed.
Just in stuff like for Intellivision Day, we've sent messages back and forth, but we had never talked face to face till about 3 or 4. It was a while ago now. It's probably 3 or 4 weeks ago we started planning this, right? So
yes,
pretty cool. Cool.
But happy to be here. Happy to be here. Appreciate you guys getting me in.
Right on. So Steve, for those in the chat who aren't aware, is the creator, the webmaster of INTV Prime. Let's see, and I would say that INTV Prime is, I consider, the hub of Intellivision Day. Seems that Steve always has that registration program every year, promotes Intellivision Day, promotes December 3rd. So I mean, it was only natural to invite him in here tonight to talk about stuff. So once again, thank you for being here and doing this. Have you ever done an interview like this before?
No, sir. So I mean, happy to be here. Thanks for getting me in. And with Intellivision Day, I think one of the things that NTV Prime is good at as an organization, this giant multi-trillion-dollar organization that I'm is we're just better at spamming people than everybody else. That's really what it comes down to if you break it down. So
there's a lot to be said for that.
I guess. I mean, I got to be on your show, right?
It tends to work. There you go. It tends to work, right?
Yeah.
Go. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's okay. I was just going to say that I was lucky enough to be kind of a quick side interview on the Intellivisionaries podcast way back, I think like 2017 or something like that. So whatever we talk about here, I'll try not to repeat whatever I said, last time to make it a little more interesting. But yeah, happy to take this wherever you want to go.
Well, you know what? I think that probably you're safe saying a lot of that stuff all over again, because I know I've listened to every Intellivisionaries episode at least twice, and I still put on old episodes now and again, and I learn something from them because I forget. I can remember like in my mind thinking, okay, I'm going to try to remember that. I don't want to forget that. And I remember that there were things that I wanted to remember, but I have no idea what they were.
Right. Especially, they go into so much detail and things like that. I mean, when you can do 4 hours on Sea Battle, it's impossible to remember everything that went on. So yeah, you definitely have to go back.
But I love every minute of it. And there's another one coming in the very, very near future, guys. Very near future. It's all set. Yeah. It's in post-production right now. So hopefully we'll see it by Christmas.
Yeah.
So anyway, Jeff, thank you for being here again.
Thanks for having me, Pete.
Right on. Jeff's going to watch the chat for us to make sure we get all the messages. If anybody has questions for Steve and such, they can put them right in there. And even if we don't get to them right then and there at that second, Jeff will sort of mark them and we'll come back to them. Or if it's a question and we totally miss it whatsoever, don't hesitate to put it in there again later on. Like if it's sort of, sometimes we get on a roll with something and we can't get off to it, but we don't want to miss any of your questions either. If you have questions for Steve and about the website or about the other things that we're going to talk about, like the Intellivision FAQ and such. But let's take a look at the chat, see who's here. We got, first of all, we got Code Monsieur. Happy Intellivision Day from hello from Georgia. Right on. And who's this? Junebug's here. Steve? Junebug is Jeff's mom. So she watches
she's sharing all the videos.
She is all the she's in all the streams. Craig Finstad's here. Good to see you, Craig. As I call him, the homebrew tester extraordinaire right there. And Metal Torso's here. Beautiful as always. Mark, watched me stream earlier. Glad to see you here again. Happy Intellivision game, all you retro gamers. Scrolling. People saying hello, all kinds of stuff going on here. Kurt Bradshaw's here. Good to see you, Kurt, as always. Member of the Coco crew. Wow, still going. Pierre Garreau's here. Good to see you, Pierre. Benvril is here. He says greetings to Steve. I think Benvril probably has seen your website before and puts a name to the face. Say Mark already. I did. Mike Rouse is here. What's that? I'm trying to see what that is. What is that? That cat in the box? Is that what it is?
Yep, cat in the box.
And am I down at the bottom list? I am down at the bottom list. So that's great. So I think that maybe the best way to sort of start off is just to ask you, Steve. Tell us about your history with video games, and even specifically how you get into Intellivision. When was it? Like when you're a kid or later on, or what's the scoop?
Okay. So I had to think about that for a second. It seems like whatever the better system is that never really takes the number one spot, that seems like that's the system that I always gravitated to over the years, right? So if I maybe even going backwards, Dreamcast, TurboGrafx, and then Intellivision, going way back. So I have one younger brother, and he was who I played with all the time on television, especially when you think about the early games, which were 2-player only, sports games and things like that. So we got a system on the promise. My parents bought into the whole thing around the keyboard component. Like, we can buy this game system, they can play games, and then it'll be a computer later, and then the whole film keys. They bought into the whole thing, right? The whole marketing idea. So that's why we got an Intellivision, I'm thinking, and not a VCS at the time. It was really the only two.
What year was that? Like, are you talking when the big push was on still for the keyboard component?
It was around 80, 81.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's around 80, 81. And I think they were still, I think Mattel thought they were still going to release the thing.
Yeah.
At that time, at least they poured the marketing literature out. So, we got into that, and, we would go to, I forget what it was called, Basco, maybe. There was like Best and Basco, like they had Intellivision, they were retailers.
Right.
And, they got Space Battle first, and being little, we had no idea there was a real connection to Battlestar Galactica or anything else. We were like, 6. So Space Battle, and then from there Armor Battle, and then from there Sea Battle. So except for Space Battle, these are all, 2-player games that we did, but a lot of them we would do something where my brother is a couple of years younger. So like for Space Battle, I would move the disc, and then he would do the side buttons on the other controller.
Okay.
Even the 1-player games were like when we played Tron Deadly Discs, one of us would move and one of us would throw. And so,
that's pretty cool.
But for that reason, we never knew that the Intellivision controller couldn't use the keypad and the disc at the same time.
Yeah, I know what you mean. You didn't develop that little knack that everybody played one player to sort of instinctually develop, right?
Yeah, because we were always 2-player, forever and ever. And then, and then the rest of the story is I never really stopped playing Intellivision, even when we got newer stuff. We didn't throw it away. It still hung around, and, playing Bomb Squad on the hardest level, was still a
Yeah.
fun challenge, even getting into, the late 80s. I went off to college, and television didn't come with me. I was into the Apple II. But when I got back, I was at home for a little while. And my parents were like, get all your stuff out of here. And the television came with it. So I just plugged it back in and, kept going. So say into the 90s even.
Yeah.
The thing still worked, the television, they're built like tanks. The capacitors don't blow up like on, other systems. And so I got into ECS tinkering, God help me.
Yeah.
Did that a little bit. And again, went from there to TurboGrafx, Saturn, Dreamcast. But one of the things I did too was I hung around a lot on, and I did this when I was at college. I was on a Usenet a lot.
Yeah, use that.
If
Yeah.
anyone remembers, so Rec Games
yeah.
Video Classic. I was on there, and that's when I kind of ran into Larry Anderson, who was putting together this FAQ about Intellivision. Because if you go back to the Usenet days, different people were talking a little bit. Some people had questions, but it wasn't that far after the Intellivision had basically,
Faded.
Gone to
Or
the
lulled.
fourth stage of the star kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
early 90s, it was very, very quiet, like 91 through 97, 98, right? Or 96,
right.
maybe.
Right. But then when you, take, maybe not, I'm going to say a broader look, but maybe just like a bigger look, there was a guy in North Jersey, Joe Santulli,
Okay.
who
I've
had
heard
this
that name.
zine. Zines were kind of coming along in the late 90s, right?
Yeah.
So he put together this thing called Digital Press, and I was looking for him.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know where I put him. I have him around here somewhere, but I have the original paper. It's like 35 pages stapled together.
Oh, wow.
And some of his art and Larry Anderson's art, because they're friends, and because it was such a small thing, we talk about horse racing because that's one of his favorite games, and we just go back and forth around that. So there's these few people like here and there that were doing things with it, and I just kind of followed them around virtually. So then later, I guess I tried to get into CP1610 assembly, way too hard, not smart enough. Couldn't get into it, couldn't make my own games, that kind of thing.
What era are you talking about that? When was that? Are you talking in the late 90s?
Yeah, I'm getting to the late 90s at that point. Yeah.
So, because you're talking the same era where Josie and Dave Harley and stuff are starting to do it.
Right. So they're starting to get into it. And what was interesting for me now looking back on it is, so I live near Philadelphia. I'm in southern New Jersey, right over the bridge from Philly.
Yeah.
And I went to Philly Classic back in 2001.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And I actually saw some guys, quote unquote, who had Tetris for Intellivision. I was like, that's interesting, but that'll never be anything. This homebrew thing, it's never going to grow past it. I'm not going to buy one. I'm definitely not going to buy one of those cartridges.
So you're not about to pull out a box for the Philly Classics, what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, if I was a little bit smarter, I thought a little bit more, like I would have bought like a stack of them, and
Oh my God,
higher now.
I have seen one. I have held one at C-Marts, but it's like it's neat. It's neat to see that history, right?
Yeah. So I was hanging around there and still kind of poking around. I guess Intellivision Lives and Rocks was coming out around that time too. On the web, it was still growing. So lots of people had like their own handmade HTML sites.
Right.
Even Josie's site, Spatula City, is, you can tell that a human just coded that,
right,
from a text editor, right?
Yes.
There was an Intellivision video game ring, and
I remember that too. Yeah.
I found myself catching like different pieces of text, like from here and there, like saving it. So I had a whole lot of text files and things. I had a lot of Rec Games Video Classic stuff that I had saved and text files that I extracted from there. And I just had this stuff just kind of sitting there and found myself asking repetitive questions. So I'm getting to the end, don't worry. And many years later, I said, why not? People are asking the same kind of questions, usually people that haven't been in the Intellivision for 10, 15 years or whatever.
Yep.
Why don't I see if the FAQ can be updated? So I reached out to Larry Anderson again, and I said, other people have your FAQ. And if you look around, I think there's one in Italy. There are several Intellivision INTV Funhouse. There's a version there. But nothing, but nothing had really evolved. Basically, people were just taking the same stuff and lots of things had changed. So I went to Larry and said, can I have your blessing to redo this? I had to track him down a little bit, but I did find him. And he said, sure. So at that point, I jumped into it and decided to collect. And then Steve Roney was nice enough. Again, my ability to spam is just better than other people's, I think. I started searching for Blue Sky Rangers so I could find one that would actually reply to me. And Steve Roney had a version of Larry's FAQ where he had handwritten notes on it saying, this is inaccurate, this should be this should be that. So I took all that stuff and incorporated that too, and then put it into a new version, and we have what we have.
Wow, right on. So let's step back a little bit back in time, because we're up where we're getting into the FAQ. We're going to ask lots about the FAQ coming forward.
Okay.
Like, even I'm going to tell you who. I'll get you to answer this right now, though. Larry, what's Larry's last name? Who's Larry? Because
Anderson.
Larry Anderson. And now, how did he start that? Or
I'm not sure. He had a lot.
Was it on Usenet that you pulled it from?
Yes.
Okay. The little bits. I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite understanding where it was that you found it originally.
Yeah, I must. It's a little hazy. We're going back to 90. Early mid 90s.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I think he pulled it together from Usenet stuff and things that he had dug up, and I'm not sure what the sources are for a lot of his stuff.
It was sort of unsculpted at that point. It was just more of an ensemble of information, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, you can say what's the best way to put it? No, we say it grew organically. Let's say that.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. You said way back at the beginning that you with your younger brother that you played most of the games. Is that who you played mostly with and against back in the day?
Yes. I had some friends.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I just gonna say, what were the favorite games? What games did you guys play? Armor Battle, Space Battle, Sea Battle?
Right. I mean, one of the things to think about too was my parents didn't have a ton of money. I mean, maybe they did, relatively speaking, because we had it in television, right? So they didn't have $0.
Yeah.
But the games were expensive.
Yes.
$55 for Sea Battle meant you were going to play Sea Battle until you had every single thing, done in that. Actually, it's fun too, because we actually found some Easter eggs, which ended up on Joe Santulli's digital press website.
Okay. Yeah.
That are in there. Things like with Armor Battle, if you go to the edge and then you shoot it, you can go up to the top of the screen and come through the bottom. You can drive through buildings, stuff like that. So the only way you could find that stuff, I think, is if you're a kid and you've got unlimited time and you're not getting anoty game. So
yeah, you're just doing whatever you can do with it. Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to extract everything out of it. Yeah, but to answer your question more, I guess I had a couple of friends in the same neighborhood. So we'd walk, 7 or 8 blocks to get to another kid's house who had an Intellivision, and we'd trade games. So things expand a little bit that way. But I would say, the sports games. So we play, a lot of baseball, a lot of soccer, a lot of hockey. And then after that, on the Magic side, I would say a lot of Dracula, a lot of Beauty and the Beast.
Dracula wasn't a super common game back then.
No, it wasn't, but it's one of those things. And actually, I don't think we had it. I'm from recalling correctly that a friend's parent bought it.
Okay.
I think everybody passed it around. Like, I think there was only one copy of Dracula in the neighborhood.
Yeah. That's what we used to do back then, though. Like, I can remember being in middle school and stuff, but about the time, like grade 6 or something like that, you get your Atari and you go to school and you trade like 3 or 4 games with another person and borrow those for like 2 weeks or something like that. That's how you get to play all the games, because at $30 for an Atari game or whatever like that, or like you say, it was more than that. It was $40 for Intellivision.
Mm-hmm.
It was that's a lot of money. Think about that. That's more than what games are nowadays in the current funds, right? It was probably $120 game in today's money type thing, So
yeah, it was definitely one of those things where we only traded games. We never let someone borrow a game because they cost too much. My parents would go out of their minds if we said, "Oh yeah, we just left your $50 game over at someone's house," whatever.
Fair
There's
enough.
a trade, it was easier for them to take, even if they knew like the parents or whatever is the whole thing.
That was what we did too, because you wouldn't want to just let it somebody because you're never going to see it again. But if you had their game in return, you could get it back.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
exactly. That makes perfect sense. Do you play any of the new homebrews now?
When I can, which is almost never.
Fair enough.
So personally, I'm more of a fan of ROMs because I was lucky enough to get my hands on a couple of LTO flash units.
Gotcha.
So when I can play there, I'll do that. But if it's like a more strategy type game, then I'll do it on JZI and TV. But lately, I haven't really had a lot of time to play anything. I feel like I have so many undone things related to making games or doing
Right.
tools for games or something else that I almost feel like I'm taken away from something if I just spend time having fun. So
And we'll slide into that a little bit later too, talk about making games and the one that you've been working on for quite a while, and you have a little plan of attack for that too with the Minstrel's Legend, right? Correct? That's the
yes,
title?
yeah, plan might be a strong term. Concepts of a plan.
Fair enough. We'll look at that. We'll get into that a little bit later. But you already started talking about how you developed your interests and stuff like that, and gathered all the information together for the Intellivision FAQ. So what came first, the chicken or the egg? The Intellivision FAQ? Were you working on that first, or were you working on the website first, INTV Prime?
I don't remember. I think they all came around together around the same time because what I wanted to do, especially with the tools and things, is make it easier for other people to make games, because I had such a hard time making them. Again, I tried CP1610 assembly, too hard. Thanks to NT Basic, the doors are open for everyone to do things, but getting the tools together and getting kind of some library stuff together, I needed a place to hold that. So the website, made perfect sense. And then I found that I have been better at making environments for other people than actually doing stuff on the Intellivision itself. So it's kind of keep going. So yeah, I don't remember exactly what came first. It was all around the same time though.
All around the same time. Well, I'll just say I don't really recall a time when it was about what year to start, because I don't recall it not being one of the websites that I sort of went to look at quite often.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
Like I'm talking, you had made this by, I'm gonna say around 2002, 3. Is that a good guess?
Not quite that early. No, not that early. Maybe 2010.
Okay.
Around there. And also the idea that I had for this Ultima style game, the Minstrel's Legend.
Yeah.
There's so many things that have to go into it. I needed to put together so many tools that I just needed a place to hold them and to kind of, just kind of be like that incubation spot.
Gotcha. What parts of like the websites you've really developed it, like you said, over the years, and refined it into what it is? What parts of it brings you the most satisfaction? What do you like working on the most? When you're going to work on the website, there's always going to be some things that I don't want to do that, but I have to, and there's things that you really look forward to doing, right? What are the things that give you the most satisfaction working on your website, or even the end product maybe has given you the most satisfaction?
Yeah, I think it's the product. Actually, I want to shift scenes for a second. I'll go to the website.
Sure. We'll bring that right up full screen here.
Like I would say that again, I think of it as really just a container for the stuff, right? So, the FAQ, I would say just need somewhere to put the FAQ, right? And then streaming, just as a service to get other people out there to let them display, like we did for the Intellivision Virtual Expo that Rev was backing a few years ago, and My Drunk Cousin folks that they did the thing at PRGE last year. Being able to do that live. So again, just making stuff that's out there, and then this ad server, that's a project kind of in the works. So it's about just having a container for the things that have my interest for Intellivision, that more than anything. So the site it's a WordPress site, so it's not super sophisticated. I didn't want to have to do a lot of maintenance and things like that. But one of the things I was able to do also is by having a site, and recommend this to anyone else who's watching or is going to watch later. When you have a site, then it's easier to approach people about things that you want to do, because they can check you out and see if you're legitimate and if you're doing what you say you're going to do or something like that.
Right on.
Like I was able to reach out to the Chandler estate and get all the PDFs and do the searchable content, and able to get all that stuff and make it available because there's a site. If I was just Steve and said, "Hey, I want to do this," they'd say, "What are you doing?" You know what I mean? So that definitely makes it easier. I mean, if you've got a YouTube property, I think that's equivalent. If you've got some kind of presence out there, I think it makes it easier to get to other people and share And,
It gives it credibility.
Credibility. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it gives it credibility for sure. Too cool. Too cool. There's the good. There's quite a bit of information there on Papa Intellivision, isn't there?
Yes, and it's searchable now, so I was able to take it and watch it through some processes, because before they were just essentially photographs. They were images of
Gotcha.
its documents. But
Can
now
you
being
give
able
the
to-
listeners or the guys in the chat right now just a little rundown of who some may not know who Papa Intellivision is? Dave Chandler, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Just his
yeah,
background, what he did.
Yes. He, for all intents and purposes, he invented the Intellivision. I mean, he was the leader of the hardware group that made the console. That's,
Right.
that's the shortest version in terms of the software. The original games, they came from APH, but the vision around what it could be and taking a console and turning it into a computer.
Hey, Doomer.
That was all Dave Chandler.
That's pretty cool. And how long was he involved with it? At what point did he step out of it?
I'm not sure. That's something we could definitely look up. But as I sit here,
early, was it not? Like,
yes, yeah, it was early. I think it's one of those things where, we've seen this in other places. Engineers don't always make the best business people. Right.
Gotcha,
So as an engineer, I think he had vision for a lot of things, but the keyboard component never really worked.
Right.
And I think that was his ultimate goal.
That was his big
ahead of its time. I'm sorry.
That was his baby, right? Like the keyboard component aspect of it. You were saying earlier about how your parents bought into the keyboard component aspect. That's why they decided to go with the television. Am I right? And that's what you said? See, that struck a chord with me when you said it, because one thing, my Intellivision, my background is my brother-in-law is the one who was into games. I had an Atari. He went out and bought a television, and I spent lots of time over there. They're like, my sister and brother-in-law were like 16 years older than me, right? So when I was 12, they were in their late 20s, working, had this stuff. And that was one thing he was always saying and watching. He was getting this keyboard component when it came out. There's no doubt in my mind.
Right.
But it just never happened. And eventually watched for it long enough until I was like, what's going on? It's too bad the way it all worked out, but interesting at the same time, right?
Yes, definitely.
So what else can you show us on the site there?
Well, I mean, the thing that is taking most of my Intellivision energy right now is, of course, the FAQ.
So you told us how you started this by getting the information, and how long has the process been building what you've got here now? And what's at the end of the day, what can people do with this FAQ? If these guys listening to the chat right now said, I want to know something.
Okay.
Go to that. What do they do?
Well, I mean, jump to the site and, grab, click through, and per section, it's very searchable. And these are all links themselves for the master component and all the different parts. So ask that. One of the things I'm looking through for 2025 is to make this much more search engine friendly. So when you're asking a question, the content that's here will get kind of sifted and parsed better by the search engines.
Right.
And also looking to add, of course, a chatbot to make it easier. So you can just kind of ask a quick English question and then get the right response. I played with that a little bit several months ago. It was fair, but now the large language models are much better and it's cheaper to use. So I'm looking to add that so people can just ask. But for now, pick your area that you're interested in and do a search, and you should be able to find it. I mean, if I'm looking for, Chandler, who's Dave Chandler. You find out who Dave Chandler is, and then there's a link. So one of the things about the FAQ is it was not made to be the end for your search, but just the gateway to where the real stuff is. So Dave Chandler, you're going to get a link to Pop Intellivision. Who's Dave Duran? You're going to get a link to, this site, for about Fathom, things like that. So it's really about knowing where to go to get the info rather than taking other people's information and kind of capturing it.
Right on. So if you're looking for information on people, on technical aspects of the console, games, What other types of there's your categories there. I can't quite read them looking at them from here.
Okay. So there's the history, with the link to Day-Rate-Me and television and some other parts that are there.
Right.
Hardware, including comparisons to other consoles from the time. Software, everything from, about the games, that, the past games and Easter eggs, and even how to develop your own people. So our who's who in the zoo for Intellivision, right?
Yeah.
Marketing, everything from the Astro Smash shoot off to the game competition that preceded it, to other things that Mattel has done, and where it's even appeared in TV shows and all kinds of things. Pretty much any question that people have asked more than once, to try to get it in there and fit it in. Organizations, this is everyone who's doing something. Different events, publications, modern resources. So all about emulators, and one of the most popular questions I think of all is, how do I get this Intellivision plugged into my modern TV, right? And usually there's something good on Atari Age, but it's in 5,000 different threads, and then there might be things on a couple of Facebook groups. So what we try to do in the FAQ is distill that and get pointers to the stuff, so people can figure out what it is that they want to know.
It's amazing how often that question still gets asked. Like, once you sort of know, it's like, it seems quite easy, but it's not. That's a big challenge.
Yeah. And a lot of times, you think about the typical use case. It's someone who had an Intellivision, right? They're in our age set. They had an Intellivision 30 years ago, and it was in their parents' attic, right? They're cleaning something out, or they're thrifting and they see one on the side, like, hey, I should get that. I used to play that. Now what do I do? Because by default, it's not going to plug into the TV that you just got, at your retailer.
Yeah.
The HDMI 60-inch monster, it's not going to be Intellivision ready.
So how are you doing work on the FAQ right now? Where are you gathering more information? Are you just watching for questions? You're just looking for info to add, or are you like, how is it still currently being developed? Because it seems like there's going to be an end to the library type thing of how much info is there, but at the same time, always new things popping up. Correct?
Right. Well, I mean, again, I keep using the word luck, but luckily for us, Atari Age is a great gathering spot. So a lot of times I'll just I'll see something that's there and then capture it. I'll save the note, and then I'll put it in. I mean, what I would like to see going forward, and I'll probably get to this after I get this other automation part put together, is really look for other people to submit stuff to it. There's nothing to stop anyone from sharing info. If someone had something, I was thinking of a submission spot, but people are so used to using Atari Age that it might be easier just to continue to harvest info from there. A lot of people just tend to post things there. So instead of giving people two places to go, kind of like with the Intellivisionaries right now, it's a lot easier for people to just submit their info to the Atari Age forum.
Yes.
And you guys pull the stuff out of it. It's easier to see it there instead of making a new spot for people to go. Let people go where they're used to going.
I know that's what we have been doing lately, is just getting the information that way, and then putting it together. Too cool. So let's talk about your the Intellivision Day project that you've done over the last few years. When did you decide to start doing like the registration process and such? Bring yourself back in here. Bring yourself back in here.
Okay. Can do. Stand by, please.
Yeah, no worries. We may be jumping back and forth, but
yes. All right.
So here's a quick question for you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, do I have all 125 original INTV games? I do not. I have 123. I have about 120 complete in box. Maybe a little less than that. Maybe in the teens. But I am missing Spiker, and I am missing Learning Fun 2.
And that's all in box, right?
Not all in box. Like I got some repro boxes. Congo Bongo, I don't have in a box. Stadium Mud Buggies, I don't have in box. I started this late, it's like I can still remember when Spiker, oh my God, how would you ever pay $200 for Spiker? Well, I would now. Right?
Yeah. It's like if we knew then what we know now. I had probably, first 100 games or so, complete in box, even from the earliest Armor Battle, which I think like the second game, or Space Battle, first game we got. Still box, overlays, manual. Again, because they were so expensive, we had to treat them really nicely, or my parents were not going to be happy with us. So we kept them really nice. And then at some point, when I had roommates after I graduated from college,
right,
4 of us living in this house, I just didn't have space for it. So I threw out all the boxes. I took all the manuals, shoved them in a plastic bag, put the overlays in a baseball card collector kind of binder thing.
Right.
It has like Mylar holders.
Yeah.
Overlays, the baseball cards exactly the same size. They fit perfectly. I threw out all the boxes. That was around 2002 or something like that. I'm like, these will never be anything. I don't need these.
Wow. I mean,
yeah, they're gone. So I mean, I have Spiker, which I bought after the crash. I probably paid $20 for it. But that and the other games I got towards the end, I had tossed them all.
Thank you, Casey. CC Mental, Herbert Vinson. I can't get those up on this, can I? Know Herbert Vinson, Mr. Chip, Peter Kaufman, and Nick Ben have all been gifted memberships by the Intellivision Gamers. So thank you, Casey. That's
Very
awesome.
cool.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Oh, so you're asking about Intellivision Day?
Oh, I was asking about the Intellivision Day sites, how we sort of started. Then we get off on the question, because I was thinking this is the 9th year that you've done this, correct?
I didn't realize that, but yes.
Yeah.
Looks like I had to go back to the site to check to see when I started this. So 2016, right?
Yeah. So tell us a story about how you decided to do that, when you thought it was a good idea, when you thought of it, and how you went about trying, and how it's gone ever since. And
I mean, the short version is sometimes I can't turn my brain off when it comes to this stuff.
Fair enough.
So 2016 was also around the time when I thought I was going to do get my game together, the Minstrel's Legend. I thought I was going to do that.
Right.
I first had the idea for that, and I said that we should probably celebrate, and that way maybe when we're all putting out new games, there'll be like a day where if we're just going to play, we can also talk about the new games and stuff that we have. And me actually writing code for the game kind of went by the wayside, and no one's everyone's on their own schedule for making games, so it's just like, why not play? It's it's the console's birthday, we have to do it sometime, so let's just do it.
You go.
I don't really have I didn't have a goal in mind other than let's just do something fun. I mean, no pressure, no stress. You got it in television, you got a flashback, just play for a while.
That's it. That's what I like so much about it too, is it's just play the game. It doesn't matter what you get for a score. It doesn't matter if somebody else is playing that game, if nobody's playing that game. It's just signing up to say, hey, I like the Intellivision too. And of course, when did it peak? It peaked in 2020, right?
I guess that's when it was at its highest, and I don't remember. Maybe that was COVID driven.
Yeah,
I'm not sure about that. Not sure about that. Yeah, to go back to the numbers. Yeah, we did have the peak in 2020.
Have you ever had any ideas of things to change with it, or things to promote? Well, not promote it so much, because we promote it, but just different things to add to it, maybe to give it a little more, I don't know, flair. I'm not a big one for like top scores and stuff like that. It is sort of like, I don't know. Have you ever had any thoughts on that, of ways to add to it? Or
yeah, I mean, I guess I did. It's one of those things where if I hit the Mega Millions lottery, and I could just throw money around and just kind of do stuff, then maybe I would come up with some crazy ideas. So like, what if we did something like Twin Galaxies has the high score site,
right,
and we've got a lot of great publishers, and we've got your cast, we've got Casey's, got the Intellivisionaries. What if there was some kind of, I don't know, mega event where we're all streaming, playing live or versus each other, or some Intellivision games could be redone so we can play them over the internet.
Yeah,
like they're like disassembled and or even if it's a new version and it looks and plays exactly like the classic version. Like I would love to play you in Sea Battle while you're sitting up there, I'm sitting down here. Something like that. I thought that kind of thing would be.
I got my little pet peeve about Sea Battle, right? And I love the game, don't get me wrong, but it's like I've always said that I want the opportunity. I want online play because I want the opportunity to play a game of Sea Battle against somebody who I'm not trying to teach how to play it at the same time.
Exactly right. The only other person that I am near that can play Sea Battle is my brother, who now lives 2.5 hours.
There you go.
North of me, right? So
chances are when you do get together, that's not what the first thing you're doing is playing a game of Sea Battle. So
right. Yeah. Sea Battle and Utopia is super fun, but you got to have somebody else that knows how to play.
Yeah. And it's I will say it's no fun if you don't, but I mean, still, it's just, I can't remember. It was when I was a kid, the last time you had a game of one of those games head to head with somebody. And I mean, I had all kinds of envisions when I was the Amico thing, right? That this would possibly happen, but wherever that went, but not, and I don't know, that to me, of all the things, that would be the biggest thing right there that I would want to have, is the capacity to play these games head to head. We've even talked, I think Jeff and I have talked on here before about the possibility of doing something like with the Switch has all these games now you can play NES games. Wouldn't it be cool if it picked up something like Intellivision, or now maybe that Atari has it? They develop something more overall, like that's something that they do with one of their systems. It's got to be possible. It is possible because it's been done, but it's just incredibly complex to do it.
Right. And the number of people who really, really understand that is super small. That's one of the drawbacks to our console, is that the number of people that really know how the inside works is super small. It's probably 4 people.
Yeah.
That really, really break it down.
Really interesting. Anyway, guys, it's going to take one quick little break. I got a video to show you very quick. We'll be gone less than a minute, and we will be, if I can get back to it, we will be right back.
Happy Intellivision Day from the Great White North.
Hi, this is William Moeller from Electronite. I'd like to wish everyone a happy Intellivision Day. Keep playing Intellivision. Cheers.
Hey there, YouTube. This is Rick Reynolds of the Intellivisionaries podcast. Happy Intellivision Day to you.
Hi, it's Luke from Intellivision Collector, and I just want to wish everybody a happy Intellivision Day 2024. Live it up, play it up. Ooh la la.
Hi, this is Steve Kraft with INTV Prime. Happy Intellivision Day.
Hi, I'm Oscar Toledo Gutierrez, Intellivision programmer and creator of INTV, wishing you all a happy Intellivision Day.
All right, so I had a drink, and we'll get back into this. Neat to see some of these guys on there, and notice the music in the background, really well, was the Intellivisionaries. And you've been involved with the Intellivisionaries for quite a while. Correct, Steve?
You could say that. Sure.
I could say that. I just did. Tell us how.
Again, I guess I'm pretty good at spamming people. So they had the email address, like the hello@intellivisionaries.com, like tell us what you think.
Right.
And I got so into the show, I just kept telling them like what I think, what I got this, what do I think about that? I just kept doing it over and over and over. And I think Paul was like, all right, we got to give you something to do. So I think it's kind of how it kind of came down. So any kind of behind the scenes kind of background stuff that needs to get done, which is how I got to get in the Junior Reynolds research department.
There you go.
To do what passes for research for the show, and I'm just happy to help out kind of on the back end. It takes something special in order to do what you guys do. I mean, it's natural to you guys, but being able to talk to people and have a flow and things like that. And when you guys record, say between, now it's you and Chris and Rick, and then before, like with Paul, like to have that interaction and to make it go, I mean, that takes something. So, I don't have that. So so I'm happy to help out, kind of on, again, in the background, kind of on the side, if something else needs to get done or researched or find people or get something else together in order to make the show work, happy to do that. And I've had floated some other ideas, but we never really panned out, things like a listener's choice awards,
Right.
kind of similar to what happens on Atari Age with the Intellivision Game of the Year. But more about the show, because the show has links to Blue Sky Rangers and some of the content that Paul was able to get, from interviewing people in the area and at the time and things like that. So
it is amazing what he was able to get. Yeah. That's so you are basically, for everybody who listens to the Intellivisionary podcast that's in the chat today, you are meeting the Junior Reynolds Research Department right here. This is the man that's responsible for it all. And this is the man that gives us reason to give Rick a hard time when we don't find something out.
Anytime there is incorrect information, that's usually me. And when it's on, it's usually Rick. Put it that way.
But Rick always gets the blame.
Right. He does get the blame. That's because
you said, remember that when it was hello@intellivisioneers.com. I don't think I ever sent an email to that, but I sent a few to ricksucks@intellivisioneers.com.
Also a good alias, yeah.
And I'd almost always get an answer very quickly too.
It's funny how that works.
Yeah. So, and just so you guys know, there's a one episode of the Intellivisionaries. Episode 51 is in the can and will be released. I think we're going to get it before Christmas. I really do. And it's episode, like I said, 51. It's going to have a PRGE wrap up. It's going to have news. It's going to have game reviews. We're going to get away from doing episodes, special editions, and ones without the game reviews. So the game reviews for this episode is going to be Cat Attack and X Rally. So two games that are very similar in nature, two homebrews. Yeah. And we even know what ones we're going to do next. So that's great. But it'll be a little while for that next one. We'll get this one out first. Rick works very hard at it.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does.
Yeah, absolutely. It takes a lot of work to do stuff like that. It takes a lot of time to do stuff like that too. It takes a lot of any of these things. Running a web page, running a YouTube channel, running a podcast. It's a lot of work, and it takes I don't know. It's very appreciated when people watch and listen and go to the site. So what I have no idea. What kind of numbers does like INTV Prime pick up? Like, do you watch those things like that, or?
Actually, not at all.
No,
I haven't. One of the things that we'll see probably 2025, 2026. I really want to get this game done that I've pushed aside for a while. But that's what I was hoping to do with the thing and the link on the site. There's not much there. I had this idea I had with the Prime ad server. And that's really to make it easy for any of us that are doing anything online in retro gaming to reach other people that are into retro gaming. And then being able to do, look at clicks and views and, get people who are outside of our kind of Intellivision kind of inner sphere and kind of grow things out more and get a bigger audience. That's what that's all about, is the Prime ad server. But that's more idea than anything else. I have a lot of pre-plans there, but in terms of priority, I really want to get the FAQ updated. Get the AI stuff wrapped up in that, and then from there, focus on the game tools that I need to.
Guys, seriously, go to intvprime.com. Check out the FAQ, because if you've not gone in there and looked, you'll lose yourself in it. It's fairly well laid, fairly well. I know, so it's very well laid out as far as chapters, like all your. I think it's like all your information on specific people is in chapter 4, for example, and you'll go through who is so-and-so, who is so-and-so, right through this enormous list of people. And they'll have links. There'll be links there, like you told us earlier, where you can go find more information on them. But it's just like, it's a great place to start because you're going to learn something from the information in the FAQ first, which is your goal. But also your goal is not to, there you go. There, Michael Hayes there. I like the FAQ page of his bio. It's very well done. I've looked at that one before too. And other links and stuff so you can get more information. And do you remember, and I'm going to ask something because this is in the FAQ, and I'm going to ask you if this other information is in the FAQ now. It wasn't very long ago. I'm talking 4 years ago. Okay, it would have been 2020. Oh my God, 2022. Not that far ago, but I was doing research for the 125, which I still haven't finished, and I found a bunch of things on Rockland Games and programmers that were for the Coleco and for the Parker Brothers and such like that. And I found a bunch of information. A few months later, it sort of come out in Atari Age, all the same information, but it wasn't very long before that. Nobody knew who programmed these games.
Right.
Do you recall that? Because I sort of keep track of, I like to see who programs the games. I like to know who they
Right.
are.
Yeah.
I always like that stuff. And it was just always sort of a mystery. And even on the Intellivisionaries, they used to talk about, for example, Donkey Kong for Coleco. Nobody knew who programmed it.
Right.
There's episodes where they talk about that. Nobody knows who programmed it. We do now. Is information that up to date in the FAQ? Put you on the spot.
It will be in the next refresh. So I'm not sure what's there. Had some things going on at home, things like that. Yeah. So my attention was not on it, but all that stuff is in the staging. Whatever's not there is in staging, so it gets updated. Because one of the things about an FAQ is if it gets stale, it's not any good to anyone.
Right.
So, so when I get back on track, the plan is about every quarter, and I was up to that up until last year, about a quarterly refresh as information comes through, because the Rockland stuff is kind of new. One of the things I think I'm pretty good at too is just kind of finding people between my Google Fu is pretty good. And then like hunting people down through LinkedIn, because people want to talk about what they did in the past. And then from there, catching people, professionally and say, hey, I remember that people are, generally willing to talk about tech stuff that they did that they're proud of, 20, 30 years ago. Why not?
Do you find that these guys who worked in Intellivision may have worked for Mattel or whatever for most of them 5 years or less? Okay. And then have had a 30-year career after that.
Right.
But if you want to talk to them about something, they'll love to talk about Intellivision.
Some do. I mean, I can think of off the top of my head, Rick Levine, Steve Roney, very happy to talk about some of their stuff. Not all the Blue Sky Rangers were like that.
Okay.
I know there are a couple, and I don't want to, throw names around from this perspective, but
no, that's fine.
Not everyone wants to talk about, what they did, because to your point, it was a very short time. You think about it, 79, 80 to 83. 84, like once we hit the crash, it's not a gigantic window.
Certainly the ones that sort of stuck it out through the INTV core day, they all still love it. I mean, right. I find that, and like, I don't know, it's neat to see them online and such. They're kicking around and they're watching things like this, and they're watching posts and games and stuff. It's just kind of neat once in a while when they reach out to you on things, but. And I'm sure that they're interested. They probably looked at this Intellivision FAQ as well.
Yeah. I hope so. I mean, there's, and sometimes you find things in looking for something, I'll find something else when I'm, searching. There's a link in the FAQ to a mention of a university project where people are actually using microsurgeon to discuss medicine.
Slappy. Yeah.
It's not.
Go ahead.
No, that's all. Just sometimes things get to be relatively obscure. I don't know that anyone was particularly asking if microsurgeon was ever used in to discuss real life medicine, but it was. So I just threw it in there.
What it was is okay. That just sort of made me think of something. Like, is that such a unique game? Would you call it probably maybe the most unique game, or what other games you think? I could think of another one. What would be your pick for the most unique game on the Intellivision? I can think of another one that I would put in there, maybe.
Wow.
There's putting you on the spot, but put some ideas in the chat there too, guys.
Most unique.
There's a couple that are pretty friggin' unique. Microsurgeon's one that is quite unique. Yes, it was on the, TI 99, but let's call it unique. It's just such a different idea for a game at the time.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's so many that were one of a kind, because also think about the years that they were released. Nothing else was like it.
Michael too there. Oh, Michael.
Yeah. Let's not say Kool-Aid Man. But yeah, I mean, microsurgeon, definitely yes. But then, wow.
I agree with
Also,
that statement right there, Salvatore, because
yes, Utopia.
it was groundbreaking, right? I always say that. I would call Utopia as a groundbreaking game. I can remember when we got that. It's like, what the blazes is this? And my brother and I started playing it. It was a lot of fun, and we played it for hours. And I love it. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, I guess any of the sim type games. So also trucking, right?
Trucking, very unique, wasn't it?
No, trucking simulator. I mean, who does that?
I suppose there's a simulator out for everything nowadays like that, but back then, nothing.
Right.
I don't.
Yeah, not in 82, 81.
Right. Michael thought of one that I came to my mind as well. How do you like this game? What do you think of that?
Me personally?
Yes.
I was never able to get into it. It never controlled the way I wanted it to control, and I never got far in it at all. Which is, I liked how it looked, and I would give it a try, and then I'd give up and I'd go do something else.
Yeah, you're talking back in the earlier on about how you got a game, and if you had Sea Battle, you had forked out a lot of money for Sea Battle. You played Sea Battle. I was going to say to you, and the poor kids who got Vectron for Christmas, right?
Right. Yeah.
Jeff loves Vectron.
I think it's an interesting game. I just don't think it plays very well. It's unbelievably difficult.
Yeah. Yeah.
The concept is pretty cool.
It is.
It is a great concept. Maybe if the controls were different, maybe it would be easier for me to pick it up. I'm not sure. But then the other sim games too. I mean, B-17 Bomber, nothing like it as a bomber sim.
Yeah.
Space Spartans is a great game, but it's not unique because they're Star Raiders, right? So there's something like it, but B-17 Bomber
and Bomb Squad in there too. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Love it. They could do that. They had the control capability that a lot of other systems just didn't have with that controller, right?
True. Yeah.
Loved it. The other one I was thinking of, Eva, is Diner, because it was just sort of different. Diner to me is sort of still a unique game to this day.
Platformer, but 3D at the same time.
Yeah.
System. Yeah. It broke some rules, broke them a little bit.
Yeah. So any other questions out there in the chat, guys, for Steve about old Intellivision things, or about the INTV Prime or the FAQ, or anything else you'd like to know? Good time to put them in there right now. We're almost an hour in. This is a game of hours here, guys. This might be a shorter chat. I think I've had like 7 hours of stuff on here today. What was I going to say? Jeff's other favorite games are Carnival and auto racing. Correct, Jeff?
Oh, yeah, man, those are brutal. I know a lot of people love auto racing. Of course,
I'm a fan of auto racing.
What's that?
I'm a fan of that one. That's one of those we got it early, and my parents were like, "This is your game," and we played that forever.
Well, I grew up as an Atari kid, so I never played Intellivision until I did a video. It was like 51, 52 before I ever got it, and so I played auto racing. 2 years ago was that? That's the first time I played it.
3 or 4, wasn't that far.
I have a feeling if you didn't play it as a kid, you're probably not gonna love it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
I find it hard to differentiate. Like, I know the two different driving styles. Can't even tell you what they're called again. Directional and the other one,
realistic or something.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I don't know. I can't even put it in. And I think I have the ROMs differentiated on my Ultimate Flashback, so I could pick one or the other. But I'm not sure if I had them right. And I have no idea what one we had when I was a kid. We had it because we used to get all those common games, like we would pick it up. So rotational, there you go. Just left or right, no matter what direction you're going, or the actual direction of the car. And I don't know. I think it's like anything else. Somebody say one is easier than the other. Well, yes, I think one's easier, but once you've learned the more difficult one, just like once you've learned to play Tron Deadly Disc with one controller, and you just instinctually let up on the disc when you throw the disc,
right?
It's hard to go to the easy method, for lack of a better term. I don't know. That's just the way I find it.
That makes sense. I think I had the original version where like the steering was rotational, not directional. I think that's the one that we played. But yeah, we played that forever. That was. I have good memories of that game, but maybe it doesn't hold up as well now, like in terms of high replay value.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Who was Michael saying, or Kurt saying Bump and Jump was a favorite game of his. He played it a lot when he was a kid. Tron, Mazatron. There's an interesting game. Did you play Tron much? The Tron games when you were young?
We had Deadly Discs and do we have the other two? Yeah, we did have Solar Sail. To think about that for a minute. Yeah, we did have Solar Sail, so we played that a lot. Mazatron didn't have it, and Friends didn't have it for some reason. I don't know.
That's funny.
Why that was. That's a good game.
Here. Yeah.
I know Rick did a really good in-depth coverage of it in an Intellivision Series episode once.
Yes.
And because of that, I wanted to play it more. I just haven't invested the time in it. But I wanted
really
to
good interview with Russ Haft, right? It's Russ Haft is Mazatron.
I think that's what it is. Yeah. Right.
Really good interview with him in that episode as well. So guys, check that out. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but it was good. I'm trying to think, what was the episode? I haven't done Tron Deadly Disc yet. I do know that. What was the episode that was 7 hours and 7 minutes? That might have been the baseball one.
There were a lot of I think baseballs was the 7 hour plus.
There you go, Sloppy. That's exactly right. Oh, look at that. Pop it in here, asking how you doing. Rev. That's Rev.
Hey, Rev.
Right on. Here's one. Steve, could you describe the concept of your backdrop, if I can ask?
I don't understand the question.
I don't think I do either. I think maybe he's asking.
I think you're talking about right behind you.
That?
Yeah.
I live here. That's not a backdrop. It's just where I live.
That's your bookshelf.
No, I think they mean okay. So it's book.
Yeah.
Just turned around.
Yeah, that's what we got back there. Yeah, it's books. Yeah, books revert. So this is a shared wall in this apartment right here, and books absorb sound really well.
Yeah. Really?
So getting mass really blunts voices and sound. So that's
cool.
why they're back there.
What a great
No one
idea.
reads books anymore, right? So I was able to get encyclopedias, Craigslist, and other stuff, and pack them up there.
That's why I have 900 Xbox games behind me, because they absorb sound so well.
That's it.
That's what you told your wife, Pete.
The washing machine's on the other side of that wall. So if you ever see, and I'm sitting here, and all of a sudden, like there's like a glimmer for the lights off the plastic, and it's just sort of wavering, that's a spin cycle.
There you go. Nice.
Yeah, right on. Rickster, cool thing about auto racing is it might have invented the drifting before it was a thing. That's so true.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
good point.
Really. I hadn't really thought of that, but it's absolutely, yeah. It was neat to be able to control that. Right on. Well, any other questions out there, guys? I don't know. I think anything else that you wanted to talk about, Steve, like with the site or things getting ready, or I guess we've hit everything. We've hit Intellivision Aries. We've hit how many people do we end up with signing up for? Do we know? I put a couple more there tonight.
I have to check for tonight, but what are we in the 40s or 50s at this point? I think we're definitely not at our height. But again, I need to check after.
I think I did think of one more thing I want to talk about. Thank you, Rev. You actually jolted my memory. I think I looked earlier. It was the 40s. The top one was 2020. There was like 140. But 2020 was a weird year, man. Right?
It was.
It was a weird year. So it would be great to see that come back, though, because there's all kinds of people playing in television. We see all kinds of them in here. There's people that don't chat. There's people watching. I get comments on Facebook. There's hundreds and thousands of people still playing in television and love it. And it's just better getting them to know about it, because it's kind of fun. So what Rev reminded me of, that I actually didn't even have it in my notes that I sent you earlier, but let's talk about the game that you're working on. and have been working on for a long time. Let's talk about, first of all, tell them what it is and when you started it and things like that go on the back burner and where it's going, what you're thinking about going forward.
Okay. Yeah, I can't put a ton out there because it's almost getting to be embarrassing because I haven't made any super progress on it and it's been so long on the calendar, right? I mean, in terms of actual hours that I've sunk in, it's not super high, but I'm looking to change that, when the new year rolls around. So again, not being able to turn my brain off when it comes to some of this stuff. I was looking at the games that existed and I wanted to make something that hadn't been done before. So the Minstrel's Legend is an Ultima 3 inspired game for the Intellivision. So I think when it gets done, I'm not saying if, when it gets done, it may be the biggest ROM that there is because packing in so much music and so many different scenes, because only in television, right, you have a limited number of GRAM spots available. So essentially, in order to cycle those through, each part of the game is like a mini game in itself. So in order to do that, you have to use a lot of ROM. So I think it's probably going to be the biggest ROM using game. It'll be multiple segments of 42K to make the game go because of the music and because I'm trying to add IntelliVoice as well. Yeah. And because the music, my brother is an amateur musician, so all the music is what we're calling like 2.5 music. So if you don't have an ECS, you get 2 voices for sound. If you do have an ECS, you get the additional 3. So you'll have 5 voice music that takes space. Sure. Right. So we have a pretty good tool chain where he's got something that he starts off as MIDI and I get it into NT Basic. However, DCJ has kind of shown me the way in terms of using Arnold's music player. Right. So I want to retool. Yes. I want to retool how the music is done to use his player because he's got a lot more effects. So the music can be that much better. And because it's called The Minstrel's Legend and the main character in the game is a minstrel. Right. I want the music to be good. So there's a lot of work that has to be there around that.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. So cool.
Yeah. And the point of the game is you have to assemble different parts of this music scroll, which is on this island, which is like, again, move around, Ultima inspired. You're moving across the map in battles and things like that. You get the pieces. You have to put the pieces together in the right order, and then you have to play the music in the right order in order to win. So there's a lot of ROM that gets taken up there. And again, adding voice too, that's not free either. It takes a lot of space.
Huge. There have been some big ones, but this is pretty ambitious. Is there any limit? Like, is there a limitation on how big you can make it for it to still function?
I think practically it's probably 108K. I think. Yeah. Carlos is on or someone that can probably straighten me out on that, but I think generally that's where it is, and that's with LTO. So you've got to use the LTO.
Hey, Willie.
Bits.
I just want to make this quick comment too, is I think that anybody who likes Intellivision homebrews understands that patience is a virtue. Things don't happen overnight. Things don't happen in weeks or months. Sometimes it's years. Yes, I mean, you don't personally probably want it to be this long, but everybody else is saying, oh, this is great. At least it's not gone. It's not done. Right? You're working on it.
Still on my mind. Yeah, still want to do it. Have some ideas, for it. And luckily for me too, I think I would feel differently if someone else came out with something. And all this time it's taken me to put this together. If someone else came up with a way to do it and they put out their own game, it might be it'd be more frustrating for me because it just means I didn't get it out when I thought I should.
But I understand that.
No one else has done that yet either, so it's good.
Yeah, that's so. Go forward right now. You said after Christmas, like, is this something that is still a ways away?
Yes, definitely. It definitely is a ways away. Even if I had it done today and I said, hey, I got this game done, it still needs to be, thoroughly tested. That's one of the things I'm doing too, is as I'm coding it, I'm putting it together in these different segments so they can be tested independently. Because it's so big that it's probably will be impossible to play test it all the way through and pick every single game code path, because I'm trying to make it open-ended again, like the Ultima games. So it's not linear. You're not on rails. If you want to go 1, 2, 3, you want to do 1, 3, 2, that's open to you. So for that reason, it's got to be, modular.
Very unique concept.
Trying to be, and Josie helped me out a lot, with it. I don't know. I'm sure I would still be working on the idea of how to move the map around, because the map is so big. Because essentially you've got a window.
I remember you explaining that to me. Yes.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
I remember you explaining that to me. Yeah. Go ahead. Say it. Explain it again. Because people don't realize that aspect of it is very difficult. So.
Right. Essentially, you've got a window, and you have to take the visible area on the Intellivision, and you have to move. You're keeping that still, and you're moving the memory, the ROM space of the map behind it. That's how it. That's how it works. That's very hard to do. I think if anyone could have done it, they would have done it by now. But Joe made that work. There's no way I would be able to do that on my own. And on top of that, also, like the Ultimate games, if you go behind a mountain, you can't see beyond the mountain. So there may be monsters beyond the mountain. You shouldn't get to see them as a player. So not only moving the memory behind the visible window, but also keeping track of where those things are, and just having, blacked out parts of the map where you can't see past the mountains. Or if you're in a forest, you can only see 1 square around you. But if you're on plains, you can see 3 squares or 5 squares or 12 squares, depending on where you are. That visibility is extremely hard to do. And Joe, put that together.
So many things. Willie says they're looking at 1 meg carts within the next year or two.
That's great. It's great. It's definitely it's possible, right? It's software. You can do anything, but to make it usable from a programming perspective. And again, we're doing this in NT Basic, which also this game would be impossible if it wasn't for NT Basic, because Oscar made so many things possible with the environment that if it was all assembly, forget it.
Right. Well, you've done this in NT Basic. Like you started it since NT Basic come out, which is what, 15?
Yeah, 2015. So yeah, I tried some parts. NT Basic, like version, 0.1, it wasn't quite ready. So some things didn't work, or they weren't possible, or you had to drop to assembly to do certain parts. And then he changed it, he improved it. So it's grown. So a few times I've had to get the Minstrel's Legend to change along with the latest version, which has always been a good thing.
Yeah.
But now there's more stuff to do, just in terms of the tools, again, for the music and the graphics also, to make them go.
Oh man, it's going to be epic. It may take a while, but it's going to be epic when it comes out.
Hope so.
Yeah,
Hope so.
Really. Well, great chat in here. All kinds of people in there. Still got 20 some people.
Stuff. I got a quick question, Steve. Who has all the games in your original Intellivision? You or your brother?
I have them.
Or you split them up. You have them all?
Nope, I have them. Yeah, he's was not that interested. They had to go somewhere. That's a good question. Yeah. He it kind of worked out. Again, we didn't plan it, but he got the Apple II stuff for the most part, and I got the Intellivision stuff.
No, that's cool.
Are you actively collecting now?
No,
not at all.
No, I'm all about playing a game. Luckily for us, right? There's so many good new games that come out. I support the developers and the publishers when I can, but even now, like I'll get something, I'll try it out, and then I'll usually hold it aside. But I don't actively seek out, like from a collector perspective. I want to play, have fun with the stuff that draws me in.
Yeah.
And that's that.
I'm sort of a balance too. Like I've always been a ACD collector, as you can see, but at the same time, I don't have to have it all. I don't have to have it all. I just like to be able to play it and to show it and have fun with it. That's why there's always the big debate about physical versus ROMs, and will ROM sales hurt physical sales?
Mhm.
Have you ever put any thought into that to think about what's your opinion on that? I guess what I'm asking. Have you ever put any thought into what you think?
Thanks for the question. My opinion is I prefer ROMs.
Mhm.
And I think if you listen, you just hear C Mark just passed out. He just fell over if you listen
Yeah.
close. But I mean, but for Chris, his thing is he likes to collect. Like that's his thing. For me, I want to play, and it's easier for me to play with ROMs, right? I can try to, depending on the game type, I can play it on my desktop or something else,
Right.
through JZI and TV, or I can play it on an LTO flash, right? I've got 2 different rooms with 2 different television rigs, and I've got 2 LTO flashes. So, I'll play, I'll play that way. So for me, the ROM is it. The box doesn't matter. I've got some boxes on the side. It doesn't, it doesn't really matter for me. So I like ROMs. I don't know if we have enough facts. So I think we have a lot of gut feelings. But I don't know if we have enough facts to know whether ROMs really cannibalize cartridge sales, because I think we have different audiences. We have different, different groups. So one of the things I wanted to do with the Minstrel's Legend was, after I wanted to make a boxed game.
Sure.
But I wanted to push it towards people for the nostalgia angle. And I wanted to also make it charityware. So I wasn't looking to make any money from it. Just all the money that's there was going to be donated to the American Cancer Society. So I didn't really, I don't see making television games as a way to get rich, right? I see it as like a thing of love. We all do this because we want to have fun.
That's right.
We're not trying to, retire on it.
Yeah.
So
retire for something else to do this for fun, maybe.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. So for me, playing the ROM is easier.
Yeah.
But I think a box game is easier to get to people who don't necessarily like to play it as much. Maybe I'm not articulating. But
no, they're more interested in having that on the shelf than to know what it feels like to play the game.
Right.
I agree with what you're thinking. So, I just say, obviously, when you start dealing everything with cartridges and such, it is obviously a lot more work, a lot more movement, a lot more storage, a lot more of this, a lot more of that, right? When you're doing something like I do, I like being able to play the ROMs because it simplifies absolutely everything I do. It lets me go from one to another very quickly. It lets me interact with modern technology much more quickly, and much more effectively, or what's the way to put it? Better graphics. It's better. It looks better. Okay. Sounds better.
Yeah. I'll go with that. I have, if I'm, in the right place and time, I will have an hour to play from Intellivision.
Yep.
So if I have to cycle through a whole bunch of boxes and carts in order to do that, then it's just less time. I can just sit back in the chair and just play, whatever it is. I'm going to play some Stampede for a while. That's a good Twitch game. Some Dreadnought Factor. I'll play Mr. Chess for a while, then I'm done. I would much rather LTO flash those 3. Not that I have Mr. Chess on ROM. I would rather LTO flash those games and then move on. And then I think if you have a cartridge, that's harder to do. But again, I think if you're trying to reach someone who doesn't have like a deep or broad Intellivision focus, it's easier to get to that person with a box thing.
Just because
what I was trying to say before with the Minstrel's Legend, hopefully this will be clearer this time, is with reaching, you can reach out to people who played Intellivision but haven't played it in a while. Like they just found their console and they want to play a game.
Yes.
So, there's new games out there. It's easier to get them with a cartridge game
because they're gonna understand it. It's gonna mean something to them.
Right. And it's the way that they played before. They haven't seen it in television in 25 years. And now they're dusting it off and they want to, I didn't realize there were new games. I'm going to go buy a new game. So they go, to one of our publishers that does a game and buy the box thing. And they've got something to get the same experience that makes it better.
I also kind of think with the ROMs, like of course piracy is always an issue. But I don't, in the market that we have now, there's certain people who are going to buy these cartridges, whether they have the ROM or not. I don't think the percentage is high of people who will not buy a physical because they could buy the ROM. Okay. Both are available. I will buy the ROM. I'm not going to buy the cartridge. If the ROM wasn't available, I wouldn't have bought either. There's a lot more people who will buy the cartridge, put it on the shelf, and buy the ROM so they can play it.
Yes, that's true.
I believe that. There are still going to be people who will buy the physical, even though the ROM exists, because they just don't want to mess with that aspect. They want to be able to do their original old setups and stuff. But I mean, we all remember as kids. Sorry.
No, I was going to say I don't think there's really that many people that do that. People that are highly interested in it. I don't think that's. I think it's a vocal group, but I don't think it's that large.
I don't think there's people who said, "Oh, I did not buy that box for $70 because I could buy the ROM for $15." And if I couldn't have bought the ROM, I was going to buy the box. I don't think that exists. I also have a feeling that a lot of the people who are quote unquote piracy with stuff in the Intellivision world are gathering it not because it's Intellivision, because they gather whatever the blazes they can gather. And does that does that hurt our sales? I think the people who are actually still loving television are still supporting the Intellivision, because they understand you're not gonna have Intellivision games if you're not supporting the Intellivision, right? I don't know. I agree.
It is. And again, I think it's mostly anecdotal because we don't have years and years of hard data across all of our publishers, across all of our games. But I think that anyone who would take the time, say Boulder Dash, that's one of the few games that I actually bought 2 of.
Right.
Great game. It's on cartridge. I hardly ever play it because it's on cartridge. I don't want to have to pull out the LTO flash to play Boulder Dash. I think if that was on a ROM and it was pirated, I don't know if that would have taken away any sales. Because the people that were going to grab that, they are probably not Intellivision fans, and they weren't going to buy it anyway.
Yeah, right. But that's a good example, because that's a game that I know Willie's in here now. But that's a game that's it was a costly license, and it's a high risk game.
Yes,
compared to a lot like Luke. I don't know. Do you know Luke, the Intellivision Collector? Of course, he's got 15 games out now with the blah blah woof woof. And you go to his site, you can buy the ROM, you can buy the physical game. I don't think there'll ever be a data large enough, a sample large enough to really definitely positively say whether it does or whether it doesn't. But I don't think he's seeing that ROM sales hurt other sales.
Okay, that's good to know. And it's one of those things where I wish if the Prime ad server was up and everybody was using it, and we actually reached a large audience, so we could actually have some data and say which way things are going. But it's going to have to be anecdotal, I'm sure, for a long time, if not, not forever. Yeah.
No, that's right. That's right.
But I brought up Boulder Dash because it is a great game. Yeah. And it's a recognizable game because it's been on so many systems. So I can imagine that if it was pirated, because if it was, a ROM and someone reversed out the protection on it and it was pirated, I don't know that they would have sold less copies. I understand there are legal reasons why they couldn't do it and things like that, but just in terms of sales of it, if they sold 1,000 of them, I don't think they would have lost half of their sales because people, pirated the ROM.
Yeah. So it's like Willie saying he doesn't, I know Willie, we've had lots of discussions. Willie's come on here before. We've talked about this subject, right, with Luke and such, about ROMs and such. And Willie's rightfully and legitimately is leery of ROM sales, which is absolutely positively his right. And whether you agree or not, and Boulder Dash is the one. The only people who can play have the cart. There are no ROMs out there at all of Boulder Dash. I do know that. Him and I've talked about that. He sold it up. It was a massive amount of money to bring it to the system. They broke even and such, but they, And what was the last thing he said here? He can't say how much you'd be shocked. Yeah, well, Balderdash is a pretty friggin' famous game. It was a large license to bring in as a homebrew. And I know I use the term homebrew in a non-derogatory term. I don't consider calling something a homebrew derogatory. Have you ever thought about that terminology, Steve?
Yeah. I do have them separate in my mind. So I think of like the stuff that comes out from Electronite in particular, and some of our other big publishers as independent. And then I think of something that came from, say, the Inti Basic Programming Contest that then gets put out.
Yeah.
I think of that as a homebrew.
Okay. Fair enough.
It's not a big distinction, but I think there is a distinction.
Well, there you go. And I agree with that 100%. I just say I do not having, there's no negative connotation in my mind when I call something.
Yeah, not negative. I think of, and I can't even, before I used to think there's a difference in polish, but I can't say that anymore because now someone who makes a homebrew, the box is good. The box is great, and the manual is solid, and the overlays are good, and it's well packaged. So before I would have said, like 3 or 4 years ago, I would have said that homebrew, you can tell in the way that was presented. But now I think of it more as like the licensing or kind of the organization behind it is how I would differentiate them in my mind. Again, Electronite I think of as an independent publisher, and an Inti Basic Programming Contest. Even though sometimes Rev will publish some of the games that came from there, and I think of him as an independent publisher. If something was more direct, then I think of that as it's like just one person. I think of that as a homebrew, like the Ghostbusters redo. Yeah. The 8K, not the super expanded one, but the one that was designed to be just an 8K.
Oh, you mean the one from from the Italian version?
Yes, that 8K version. That I think of that as a homebrew.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I see. I understand the differentiation there for sure. Yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, Electronite has always been like the cream of the crop. Just they're beautiful. The products that Willie puts out are just amazing, and I love Collector. They're some of my favorite ones, and it's been doing it for years. And Luke is now up the game. Rev is up the game. They're all, I mean, great quality products at the end of the day. So great. Who was a little comment in here that Mr. Chep said, I love how Casey's goal was handled by Audacity Games. I'm good with linking my ROM to me to help stop the piracy to make it unique for me. Are you aware of that, Steve? Because I am. Do you know what?
I'm not familiar with that in particular. I mean, I'm aware of how things are locked with the LTO flash.
Yeah, this is something totally different than that. I understand. Like, for those who don't know, you can get some ROMs and they'll be locked to work only on a specific LTO flash, which is interesting, but it's also proven to be kind of difficult because it's a lot of work, programming work to do that, to attach those. But not to mention the shortage of the LTO flash. They're not easy to get. There aren't many around. But anyway, how they do it for Casey's Gold, and by the way, Mr. Chep, Circus Convoy, same thing. You could buy a level of that game, and you get your physical copy, and you'd also get a ROM. And you would go on, and the ROM would be linked, registered right to your purchase number, your invoice number. And whenever that ROM was used, if it appeared anywhere, it would have your numbered identification, not your name and such, but your numbered identification. So they'd always know who that came from. And you even within the game, you can scan it with your phone. It will take your score and put it up with your name and everything up on their website type thing.
Interesting.
And then to top it all off, you can go to their website when they're all registered, and you can click on a link. And if I said, Steve, I got a copy of Circus Convoy I want to sell you, and I'll sell you the ROM with it, I can do a sale of the ROM, change all registration from my name to your name, and everything's legit. It's fantastic the way they do it, I think.
That's great, but I wonder about the complexity that's added to that and all the stuff that might go wrong and how a dedicated programmer could remove that.
Yeah, there you go. I can't answer that.
Yeah, there's a lot there, but at the end of the day, that game if someone has their hands on the ROM,
Yep.
if they have enough time, they can figure out how to stop that. You know, if it's going to go outbound, it's going over the internet or something else, you know, set up a reverse proxy. There are things you can do to make that not work. And then I wonder about the amount of dev time it would take to make it work, that someone can circumvent it. You know, everything has a cost, right? So
but it prevents the non-tech from just dumping it off to their buddies because their names are attached to it.
Yeah.
You know, so it's still a step in the right direction.
I mean, whoever else is on, and I can't see in the chat, but I think Carl Mueller Jr. did that with Donkey Kong.
Yes, he did.
Did something to embed the name in it or something like that.
Yes, he did.
I don't remember. But the LTO flash thing is cool, but I think we have a problem with there aren't enough LTO flashes.
Yeah,
and there's not enough Joe's the B-checks around.
Yeah, because every ROM had to be independently programmed for that specific. You'd have to send in your number. It was like, so you'll get it when they have the opportunity to make it.
Right, and just having that kind of single threaded, and I think Games for Your Intellivision, I think they have the ability to do the stamp or something like that, but it's not. I don't even know the right word. It's not widespread. It's not easy to do. That anyone can just do it and lock it. So I guess that's a downside of doing it that way.
If First Star Software is at homebrew, then Electronite Classic Game Publishers is, and I said that before. People had a meltdown on me. I don't argue about it anymore. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to argue with you either way. Because I call Willie. I will call you. Willie makes homebrew games. I'll say that, and it means absolutely nothing negative. I love your homebrew games or your classic game published games or your what did you call it? What was the terminology you used? Sorry, Steve. Independently published games. Yeah, whatever way you want to call it. The games are the games.
I know some people refer to them as aftermarket games.
That's a good one. Yeah, semantics. It's semantics, right?
It's semantics. Yeah. And I'm looking down at my pile over here. So I've got Caves of Kraz and Boulder Dash and DK2 and an LTO Flash. Right. So, those are the cartridges I, keep around. Otherwise, it's got to be on ROM.
Craig, no, it's not. Those guys are doing great work. Like, it took a while. Casey's Gold was 3 years in the making, for Pete's sakes. It's not wrong to buy it on a television day. It's just fine. I'm not big on that either. Like I hated that when Atari bought Intellivision. Oh, Atari's bought Intellivision. The company that scooped up Atari has now scooped up Atari Age and has now scooped up Intellivision. And get over this Atari versus Intellivision crap. It's great for everybody because this company is showing that they're going to do stuff with these games, which was not happening for many, many years. So it's a beautiful thing, but I don't know. I'm not big on the Atari versus Intellivision because I love them both.
Yeah, it was a little different back in 1982. Now,
100%.
Now everyone, it's all together.
We're all in our 50s playing games that we played when we were in our teens and younger. So just can't be all that super serious about it. But anyway, Hazard bought Atari in 1988. They have continued to exist in name only from that time forward. Exactly. So it's if we get some improvements in the Intellivision world over the next year or so, which I really truly think we will. It's all been a great thing. Guys, thank you so much. We still got a great group in here. We've really capped out. It was like I ended up talking about these games, and that was beautiful. Thank you, Steve, for coming. Right. INTVPrime.com, guys. Check it out. Check out the Intellivision FAQ. Give yourself some time to scroll and go through it. Don't forget, next year, register for Intellivision Day. Play a game. Show your love for the Intellivision. Register on there. You just throw your name up there with an email address. Why is the email address? Just to confirm that it's a real person, basically, right?
Yes, right. Yeah. And it's just so when we take a look, just to make sure that it's not spam, because that does happen.
You can play whatever game you want from the list. If the game isn't there, let somebody know, they'll put it there. It's just a oversight, and we'll put it in. And man, it's great. It'd be great to see that grow every year. Next year being the 10th anniversary, and just love this old system and everybody involved with it and this whole community. So
yeah.
Anyway, anything else you'd like to say, Steve, to everybody?
No, sir. Just thanks for having me on. This was fun.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. Jeff, thank you as always.
Appreciate it, Jeff.
Go Game Go tomorrow night at 7 Central, 8 Eastern, 7 Central. I think I got a message the other day. I think I'm joining you tomorrow night, Jeff. So I'll be on there with Jeff. Stu's away and asked me to sit in. Yeah. And on that note, guys, I'll play my videos. And Steve, don't go anywhere. Give me about 2 minutes. Just sit there. We'll be back right afterwards after we sign off.
All right. Can do.
And thank you all for joining in tonight, guys. Happy Intellivision Day.
Happy Intellivision Day. Thanks.
Happy Intellivision Day from the Great White North.
Hi, this is William Moeller from Electronite. I'd like to wish everyone a happy Intellivision Day. Keep playing Intellivision. Cheers.
Hey there, YouTube. This is Rick Reynolds of the Intellivisionaries podcast. Happy Intellivision Day to you.
Hi, it's Luke from Intellivision Collector, and I just want to wish everybody a happy Intellivision Day 2024. Live it up, play it up. Ooh la la.
Hi, this is Steve Kraft with INTV Prime. Happy Intellivision Day.
Hi, I'm Oscar Toledo Gutierrez, Intellivision programmer and creator of INTV Basic, wishing you all a happy Intellivision Day.